Welcome, acolytes. Today I am reacting to legendary drops. Game media implodes over Dragon Age. Didn't see this one. And a colleague of mine actually said that it's quite funny, so I'm gonna do it. Because why the F not? So, and I actually didn't want to do anything from Dragon Age the Veilguard because, well, it became boring, but if somebody I know says that it's a good video, I'm gonna watch it anyway, so let's just do it like that. And by the way, if you like my content, leave a like, support, leave a comment, press the notification button, and show me and legendary drops some love. Let's start.
You know what the players love? Censorship and being told.
Damn, he's okay. Is it on me? Because I don't hear shit from him.
That their opinions are less valuable than that of a more.
Okay, good. I just think, is he just, wait, let me just fix me. No, everything's normal. Huh. I barely hear anything. Okay, that's fine. Let's just start.
You know what the players love? Censorship and being told that their opinions are less valuable than that of a moral high-roading journalist.
Everybody loves that. That's nothing new. No, but honestly, get effed.
Saying that the discourse around Dragon Age the Veilguard is proof positive that their opinions are more truthful and valid than ours.
You
would think over the last few years, with the direction that games journalism has been heading in, that they would see an industry that is losing its relevance, that's shrinking, that is consolidating, and has mass layoffs and outlet closures, and people are just not engaged.
Yeah, you would think that. But hey, some people just never learn. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I personally... If I was them, a corrupt swine, I would do the same thing.
With your platform the same way that they used to anymore because you're not delivering what they're looking for. But instead of seeing any adaptation, any change, or anything like that, we're seeing them point the finger at you and say, you are the problem. The audiences are the issue. And even more so, it's YouTubers. Those damn commentary guys, man. Why can't they keep their mouths shut? All they're doing...
Yeah, I mean, they are telling the truth. How dare they say the truth? I mean, for fuck's sake, how dare we have some standards for our things that we wanna buy and actually play? How dare we to actually demand something for effing money and not get bombarded by stuff we don't like? No, we actually need to hear the stuff we don't like every day, every second of our freaking life, and here for the 5,820,000th time that it is bad to actually airword someone. Yeah, I'm also sick of it. Fuck off.
Doing is just poisoning the industry, poisoning the well around these games, and more importantly, they need to be controlled by these platforms because, you know, censorship is great as long as it aligns with my own personal morals. The plan failed. The ploy failed. This sanitized approach to game development, reviewing, and video game discourse isn't landing well with audiences.
Yeah.
It's not what they're looking for. It's not authentic.
And that's good. It's gonna die.
An opportunity to say, oh, everybody's telling me that I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But instead, they're saying it's you. The expected outcome of...
Yeah, the thing is, you can double down on things. And I personally, I'm gonna be honest, like, I am not innocent in this case. I sometimes double down on stupid stuff, but I never ever say that somebody else is wrong about it, or that it's the fault of somebody else, because it's purely on me. And if there are situations where I think I'm actually right, and 98% of the time I am right, just as I said, then yeah, it is what it is.
Dragon Age the Veilguard is starting to take shape, and it's not looking good. Player ratings continue to drop. The game is now sitting at a 72 on Steam with only a 40% player rating on OpenCritic and an abysmal 3.9 on Metacritic. Gamealytics is now estimating that the Veilguard sold between 310 to 930,000 copies, averaging at around 621,000 copies sold. A clear sign that this game did not land well with audiences. While some people enjoy the game, and I'll admit that the game has some redeeming qualities, that might not be enough.
Yeah, it's a mid-of-the-way game. It's extremely bad for a Dragon Age game, but if it had any other name, it would be middle of the road.
To be able to turn a profit or meet EA's expectations. What this means for BioWare or the future of Mass Effect 5, it's hard to say. However, it is worth remembering that EA shut down Ascendant Studios after Immortals of Avium flopped, a game with a lot of writing and themes that bear some resemblance to the Veilguard. Immortals only sold 50,000 copies despite its $125 million budget. If EA invested that heavily into Immortals, we can only imagine what they spent on the Veilguard. This could mean layoffs for BioWare are looming unless EA decides to make Mass Effect the studio's final chance. Now, while the media attempted to...
And by the way, Mass Effect will probably also flop. If they don't do anything good with it, what they probably won't, it will just flop. Again, I am not even a fan of Mass Effects. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't play those games. I don't really care about them specifically. I actually only care about the community and the influence it has on it. And it's just sad to see that people who actually enjoyed Mass Effects will, with a high probability, will just get it destroyed and it will die. The next thing that you actually enjoyed, it's just gonna die. Fuck.
To feign that this game was a success, fake it till you make it, I guess, and their positive spin definitely worked initially. Now that the game has had some time to simmer and the players don't seem to like it, they have chose to double down and ignore any sense of self-awareness. Dwayne Jenkins of Vice wrote an article titled Dragon Age the Veilguard and the Necessity of Games Journalism.
Of course they are defending their own asses. It's okay.
We're going back into the trenches on this one, so it's no secret. Dragon Age the Veilguard is the latest DEI game to be subjected to criticism with zero bearing on the actual game itself. Because I'm tired and already exhausted myself talking about diversity in games, I'll keep this one brief. Now, the irony of saying this from a gaming vertical isn't lost on me. Even if I'm the wrong messenger, I can only hope that the message itself is meaningful enough. Let's imagine a world without video game outlets. No IGN, no Kotaku, no Polygon. They're all just poop.
A nice, fine fantasy world. Sounds lovely.
Night. Gone. No more reviews or insights from game journalists. You know what that leaves you with to gauge how good a game is? Censoring on Metacritic has gotten completely out of hand. Not a smart move if you want to stay relevant, aka in business, because of this whole NWO Great Reset woke psyop has failed. Narratives crumbling and everyone not bailing out in time will go down with it. This, in case, if you couldn't tell, is a user review from Metacritic. I want you to really read that review. Let it nestle in your brain for a second. Now, what did you meaningfully glean from that? What information from that excerpt will help you decide whether Veilguard is worth your time?
Nothing.
That the game has characters of different ethnicities and that's bad? This brand of criticism extends to YouTube, where content creators aren't bound to any kind of journalistic integrity. Sure, a few YouTubers...
Yeah, as he presents the strawman, nothing of course, but a strawman can be anything you want.
Provide thoughtful feedback on the strengths and weaknesses of a game, but some couldn't care less about worthwhile, relevant, informed discourse. They don't have to talk about the gameplay, visuals, characters, story, pacing, mechanics, or any of the other nuances one looks for in a traditional review of a game. Instead, they can turn a camera on and say the game sucks because it has pronouns in it, or it features too much diversity, or ruined a franchise by introducing any other sexual orientation that isn't straight, or a gender identity that isn't man or woman.
And again, with this freaking preaching woke shit, again and again and again. They just can't stop themselves, can they? They just can't. It's their religion and they're gonna follow it to the death, to their deaths.
This isn't a conversation, a point to it all, just noise. It's funny though, Dragon Age the Veilguard is getting lambasted for its inclusive elements because it apparently isn't a 10 out of 10 experience. Meanwhile, I don't recall Baldur's Gate 3 getting a whole lot of flack. Oh wait, never mind. I guess I just had a momentary mental lapse. But traditionally, people will excuse all that gross diversity if the quality is high enough. But true to form, that bar is only cleared once perfection is agreed upon. No real-world parallels at all.
So compare a good game just for that. Fuck you. Just for comparing an actual good game like Baldur's Gate 3 to just snuffed shit like Dragon Age Veilguard. F you for that.
So they believe that only games journalism can provide reliable and nuanced insights into a game's quality. Notice, and this is something that's really important, it's a wordplay that a lot of journalists like to use to mislead the reader, but notice that they say a few YouTubers provide valuable feedback. But they use the word few because they want to magnify the issue to be as big as it possibly is, even though they are the ones that are cherry picking some of the most inflammatory discourse that's around Dragon Age the Veilguard. See how that works? They're making something seem like it's a bigger issue than it actually is. Imagine a world without IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, and PC Gamer or Eurogamer. Yeah, I can. It would be players that are actually going off of the opinions of other players, people that are actually playing the game that likely have the same kind of perspective or taste that they do. It's one of the reasons why YouTube and Twitch content has blown up over the years, is because they're much easier to be able to find somebody that you can align your tastes with and have similar opinions on things with, and see whether or not you're going to enjoy that game or not.
This is something that I always tell everybody. It's, he's so on point. My word choice may be a bit different, but he is so on point. You look up the creator you like the most, you will align with the most, as he said, that's a good word for it. And then if the tastes are similar, you most likely enjoy the game that the creator enjoys. And I'm saying it time and time and time again, and I don't hear a lot of people actually repeating that. But he's correct.
That's probably one of the biggest issues in games journalism today, is the fact that the perspective and opinions and beliefs that are held by those in media are not shared by those that are the audience. And as such, it's leading to a conflict.
Yes.
You don't see eye to eye anymore, and because of that, they don't want to pay attention to you for your opinions. They feel that a lot of these folks on YouTube and Twitch are a lot more genuine and less compromised, and in fact, they are less compromised. I mean, the writer themselves says they're going into the trenches. They view this as a battle line, like they're going into war. They view this as a war that they're in. They even go as far as saying, even if I'm not the right messenger, I just hope that the message is meaningful enough. Well, that's the problem. How do you lack the self-awareness to realize that you're magnifying an issue that's not even there to begin with? And really what it is at the end of the day, you're not good at delivering whatever your message is. Or
that's correct.
I don't know, maybe the players aren't bigots.
No, I'm gonna be honest, no. I disagree with him. They are very good at delivering the message they want to deliver. The message is just so bad, so excruciatingly shit, that it's just not worth anything. That it just scares people off.
Maybe they just might be tired of hearing the same message. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that players and YouTubers are the ones that are creating this toxic echo chamber. Games journalism is the most important, insightful, and truthful, as Nathan Grayson of Aftermath writes an article titled, "The Dragon Age Review Controversy Shows Just How Much YouTube and Twitter Have Poisoned Video Game Discourse." The more you enable these people structurally, systematically, the more footing they gain until they...
Yeah, it's your fault, not mine. Again, this childish effing behavior.
become the default. Quoting the discussions from their podcast, Nathan writes, "These days, when a big new game comes out, you can pretty much roll the dice on what kind of reactionary controversy it will produce. Are we looking at a more..."
And you know what? If the game's good, that's irrelevant. People can say that the game is shit as many times as you want. That's irrelevant. If people actually, the gamers, actually find it good, they're gonna play it. Simple as that. Okay, you won't get the same sales as if you heard that only positive things about the game. But it didn't stop Black Myth Wukong.
Moral panic over trans characters, diversity consulting, games journalists being too positive, games journalists being too negative. Some other quibble that'll be forgotten in a week, interchangeably swapped out like grains of sand dragged away by the unrelenting tide. Anyway, the usual suspects got mad about Dragon Age the Veilguard reviews this week. You can listen to this week's episode of Aftermath Hours for a full rundown on why, but the whole thing is illustrative of a larger, more important issue. Thanks to algorithmic prioritization on sites like YouTube and Twitter, this is how a growing number of people engage with video games. Plenty of people still manage to tune out the hours-long rants and conspiracy theories, but at what point does this rancid flavor of brain rot go from vocal niche to a borderline mainstream position? And what are the long-term consequences of that? I guess my doomer-pilled concern about all of this is that as the American fascist project continues to grow in power, and all of these platforms facilitate these ways of talking, conspiratorial thinking, and whatnot, do we reach a point where this becomes the default? Because I would say right now, this is not the way most normal people talk about games or engage with them.
Oh, most normal people talk and engage with games way different than you think in your little fantasy world.
A lot of people, as we've seen based on Dragon Age's Steam numbers right now, saw the game, thought it looked cool, bought it, and are now playing it. If you look at Asmongold's most viewed video on all of this, it has around 1 million views. 1 million sounds like a lot, but this game will probably be bought by north of 10 million people, so it's a fraction. And even then, a lot of people who watched that video were probably never going to buy the game anyway. So it's not negligible exactly, but it's still a niche. But as these things continue to have relatively convenient on-ramps, like searching Dragon Age on YouTube and getting pulled down this rabbit hole, do we reach a point where this is the prominent mode of discussion around games? Inmates taking over the asylum or whatever. Is that where we're headed? Because we've seen this in American politics. The more you enable these people structurally or systematically, the more footing they gain until they become the default.
Oh, was that written down before Trump one or after? I mean, because I hear a lot of salt out of it, especially with that last one.
This one is not drinking the Kool-Aid, they drank the entire cooler. I need to stop you right there. One of the things that I frequently see is journalists or those whose content isn't that popular online criticize the algorithm. They believe it is a system that is promoting these opinions that they disagree with and ultimately are suppressing their own. That system is an issue, and it's only fascist because it's not promoting their ideas or their opinions. YouTube and content creators in general are supported by their audience, not the algorithm. The algorithm simply feeds you things you might be interested in, and it's up to you to engage with it. If my content, or Asmongold's for that matter, wasn't supported by an audience who resonates with our opinions or our discussions, then it wouldn't be seen. If it wasn't the most popular opinion that was held, then it wouldn't swallow the opposing opinion in the algorithm, and those videos would be served above ours. Content creators and YouTube don't create a bias, they confirm it. Going on to talk about identity politics in games and saying that it's not the normal way people talk about games, well, bud, we're not getting normal games. We're getting divisive games firmly cemented in social and identity politics, and you can't be surprised when those games find themselves in the middle of social political discourse. It's the very reason that you put something like that into a game in the first place. By its very nature, it is subversive. When they say the more you enable these people structurally or systematically, the more footing they gain by a default, again, the lack of self-awareness when you're saying that your subversive messaging is more important than these people, referencing those who they disagree with. What this actually reads as, we shouldn't platform these people because I disagree with them and my beliefs and opinions are the right ones. You know, from my perspective, all this is the high school nerd that's jealous of the high school quarterback and them being more popular than them. If it was only the other...
I mean, it's not that. Don't drag freaking nerds into that. Those people are just freaks that want to push their agenda on every normal human being here. I mean, for F's sake, me as a freaking full-on nerd when I was younger, maybe not full-on, but I was a freaking nerd. I still got along with everyone. This isn't like... It's not that hard. I'm just gonna be honest. But then you had the people like Nerd and Jocks. Okay, good. I mean, in Germany, there's a bit more open about it. But then you had the freaking freaks. And the freaks are those who actually don't have anyone to talk to. And I don't mean the lone wolves. I mean literal freaks who cannot socialize properly. Yeah.
Other way around, everybody would totally respect me, but they just don't understand. This is literally just nothing but bitterness over the fact that people are going elsewhere for their opinions. Because it's not traditional media anymore. That's not what people are interested in. Instead, what they want to do is they want to look to people that they can relate to, people that they feel like their tastes and their opinions and their perspectives align with, because, well, they're more likely to steer them in the right direction. They don't feel like these people are compromised, and more times than not, they're not. They are literally just a guy like me with the microphone just saying what their opinions are.
Yep, true.
Leaving that out into the ether for other people to pick up. If they resonate with it, they do. If they don't, they don't. It's not that big of a deal. But, You know, if you go back and you look at any of the videos that I make on these kind of topics, for the most part, I do try to stick to just the merits of the game because that's what I want to judge these games on. But the problem is it's games media as well as these games developers that are forcing these themes and different things into their games that are meant for discussion, and that's why they're being discussed. It ends up being a pain point as to why some of these players are not engaging with these games and not wanting to buy them. But the problem that we keep running into is that when we try to have this kind of conversation, well, they just want to cherry pick some of the most outrageous and inflammatory remarks that are out there and use that as a way to minimize any critical discourse around any of these games.
Nicely said. Most of them just scream Nazi and are happy with it. So, you can say, I don't like cherries, and suddenly you're someone who killed thousands and thousands of people. So
every single time. Literally every single time. The American Fascist Project, and you're calling us the conspiratorial ones. Sorry that the system isn't working in your favor. Maybe it will next time. The idea that a video with 1 million views is somehow not reflective of how an audience received a game is just mind-blowing to me. Especially when you're only looking at one video. If you go and you look at Dragon Age the Veilguard across all of YouTube, you could accumulate probably 100 million views if you wanted to of people being critical about the game, and you somehow don't think that's...
And sucking its cock. Because yes, there is a mix of both. As shocking as it is, there are actually people who like this game. Not because it's a good game. Just purely because of the messaging.
That's reflective of how the audience received the game? What sense does that even make? To even go as far and believe that you think the game sold 10 million or will sell 10 million copies? I can't even say it out loud. It's too funny. What are you basing that off of? The original estimates we're seeing right now are definitely not 10 million. You know, we could actually take this a step further. That video that they're referencing for Asmongold, I think it has like 1.5 million views or something like that. That video has more views than the sales of Dragon Age the Veilguard, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, Concord, and Immortals of Avium combined.
Yeah. Woo! Okay.
But you know, it's just the minority, a fraction. The writer continues the podcast transcript saying, I think an important thing to remember is we work in video games, and we work directly with people that know as much about video games as possible and as much about the video game media ecosystem as possible. The people that follow us on social media, all they do is talk about video games all day. Our peers and colleagues and former colleagues, that's all we talk about. As a sample of the video game playing public, we are a tiny fraction of people. All my IRL friends will talk to me about is a Call of Duty game once a year. Everyone I play football with will talk about EA Sports FC once or twice a year to complain about it. They don't play Dragon Age. They don't know what it is. They barely know what Fortnite is. It's the same for everything. It's music, it's movies. People don't consume media about these things constantly on a daily basis. It's easy for us to lose track of that because we think everybody does, but everybody around us does. But my experience with this stuff, because I make it my point to know as many people outside of games as possible to avoid a broken husk of a person, is that it's really important to get that perspective. It's fucking video games. No one cares. Play a game you like or don't. You don't need to go online and talk about it for 18 hours a day or whatever. So people like Asmongold are out there making these videos, but like Nathan said, what's a video like that going to top out at? 1 million worldwide among English-speaking people? That's not shit. Nathan responds, right, there are well over 300 million people in the United States alone. Luke responds, right, and that doesn't include the English-speaking people in Europe or the rest of the Anglosphere. I don't think it's something to be worried about as a discourse-shaping trend. It's more of a bummer for that type of content on that type of medium. It's going to go on its own journey, and during that time, people are going to be put off it. People might stop watching that kind of content and look somewhere else. They might look on TikTok or on blogs like the Aftermath.site. It's not a given that every 13-year-old boy watching an Asmongold video is going to turn into someone who thinks like that. Most people are relatively normal, and There's a point where once people with a certain kind of hateful or twisted or conspiratorial view start to get oxygen and get enabled, their views become increasingly bizarre to a normal person. People aren't so easily brainwashed that they'll just go along with all that. Obviously, the political situation in the United States shows that lots of people can if they're subjected to it long and hard enough. But on a global basis, on a normal person basis, a lot of people will eventually be like, I think this guy's fucking weird. Who cares? It's Dragon Age. Or not everything has to be a conspiracy and a political gesture. I'm more optimistic than other people are with this stuff, but it's more of a YouTube problem than a societal problem. They need to sort that out. Nathan responds, true, but in addition, it's a Twitter problem, it's a Facebook problem. With Asmongold, it's a Twitch problem. It is, to some extent, a TikTok problem. My God, nothing says I'm right like the call for censorship. Believing that these platforms need to handle commentary people like Asmongold, myself, or anyone else. It is disgusting to hear someone want to put the control of freedom of speech into the hands of publicly traded platforms.
Yeah, of course, because the publicly traded platforms right now are on their side, so of course they want them to do everything. But the winds will change, and you know that the pendulum swings back. So yeah.
They have more power than they already need, and you would blindly trust them as long as they are propagating the opinions and messages that you feel comfortable with. And this is all based on the fact that they are conflating criticism with hate or conspiracy. The meme that everything is fascist as long as it doesn't agree with me is strong with this one. I am sick and tired of this notion that there is a silent majority that is not talking about or doesn't care about these topics, and they're not engaging with these sort of conversations. That you somehow need to be the person that's talking about these things 18 hours a day to actually care about them.
Yep.
It's nothing more than convenient platitudes, painting a picture that specific voices and concerns don't matter, or that the general public doesn't care about forced messaging or the quality of their products. From my perspective, when people use the term silent majority, it's meant to make you feel like you have no real control, and what you want has no real impact, which couldn't be further from the truth. Oh God, it's so vain. It's so unbelievably vain. Believing that these games journalists, as well as games insiders, need to be the ones that are shaping the conversation around games, that these uninformed voices, these peasants, more than anything else, get off of me. Don't try to clean my shoe. Yeah, God, no. They're the ones, ironically, that are actually interfacing with this media. They're the ones.
Yeah, but it's also always the same. They think they're better, ergo they can treat you like nothing. It's
that are interfacing with these products.
New.
These games are made for them in the first place. And that's the problem. It's the fact that you believe that you need to be the ones that are shaping the conversation around games. You believe that your ideas, your opinions are more valuable than anyone else's, to the point that you're even calling for censorship. Pathetic is what that is. Pathetic behavior. And let's be real. I know that the vast majority of these companies don't give a shit about any of these social issues. And likely these people don't even care about it either. It's vanity more than it is anything else. It's soft people living soft lives and looking for anything to be able to attach themselves to, so they can look in the mirror and think that they've done something constructive today. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. You know what they fail to realize is that people don't watch these videos because they want to be told what to think. They're watching them because they have their own opinions, their own thoughts, and they're looking to have them either validated or challenged in a meaningful way. A video like this goes out and it resonates with some people. And they like it. And if they like it, then it gets viewed, and then more people view it, and then the cycle continues. What you fail to realize is that the content is serving the audience. The content creators are serving the audience. The platform is serving the audience, not the other way around. And that's one of the reasons why people have gotten so disillusioned with the video game industry, with games media, with different video games that have come out over the last few years, or with the government, or with regular legacy media, or anything like that. It's because they forgot how that dynamic works.
True.
The audience, the customer, always comes first.
Yes, the customer comes always first, but you still have to sort out the freaks. Because there are some customers that just aren't worth it. So, you know. But it's a really, really small minority of customers that aren't worth it. If you understood, you understood.
And the minute that you stand up and start to say that voices need to be controlled because you're afraid of what the outcome might be, because you disagree with those positions, because you think that you are the moral authority, that's a problem. And it's no wonder that nobody pays attention to you. This video will likely get more views than your podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion. If you guys did, like the video, subscribe.
Good. Show him some love. It's fine. He had a really nice high amount of good points. And good night, Akol.